What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 3 of the Do It Live podcast. I'm here with Chris Fettes.
The monster has awoken. The storm has come. This is war.
All right, so we talked about form factors. I got a couple questions about that, but what you're really talking about is like vehicles that we had on deployments that looked like local vehicles that really were bulletproof, right?
Yeah, exactly. You didn't want
Yep.
them standing out. You didn't want people feeling uncomfortable around them. They already exist in the environment.
Okay, so what do you have for this new product? This is your chance to plug it.
Yeah, plugs.
Yeah.
So this product is a essentially ballistic whiteboard. So it would exist in any classroom.
Okay.
The idea around it was, some of these capabilities, I think, with the board, the goal was to not make people feel uncomfortable. So outside of the politics of all of the, whether to ban guns or not, or whether to protect your school or not, I'm agnostic of that.
Sure.
The goal now is to solve a problem, which is protecting children and staff and people that in workplaces. So something that already exists in those environments to me is very obvious. There's desks, there's things that are linear, right? Like ballistic materials can fit in walls and the whiteboard, right? So for the whiteboard, I was really interested in that idea with my co-founders because it's mobile, right? It reminded me sort of a larger shield that law enforcement would carry.
Yeah.
And if we made it mobile enough with like rollerblade wheels or some polymer type wheels that are really,
A lot of times they're just on wheels already.
they're
right?
already on wheels, but instead of caster wheels, we could put them on something that roll over
faster.
bumps and go over, rugged concrete and stuff like that, and just carpet and things like that. And also with the weight of the ballistic board being inside of it, it's going to be a little heavy. So we need small teachers and small people to be able to move it, right? And so we built some prototypes successfully, took it to some trade shows, started sort of building awareness around it, and we got a lot of hits. And we've got some projects going on right now. We're going to essentially, with some other school modifications, provide these whiteboards in the classrooms. And essentially it has a proprietary locking mechanism that a teacher could easily wheel this over to the classroom door. And if their training, which we've surveyed, is already to lock the door in an emergency and put the kids in the opposite corner, they can do the same thing with just a few more seconds, pull the 2 pins on the locking mechanism to lock and barricade the door to the room, and essentially creating a hasty, safe room and focusing on that sort of time in between.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it
alert
just
to
buys
response.
them time so that they can actually be in a barricaded room.
Yes, because
And shots can't go through the door.
exactly. So they're not going to hit anybody through the door. With studying some of the mentality of some of these active shooters, they're not really going to be in a problem-solving mindset. So they're going to move on to movement because they want to cause the maximum amount of damage possible in those moments, right? And so the goal is to just delay them as much as possible. So there's some other companies, a couple of different really cool companies that we've partnered with to provide a somewhat ballistic window film.
Okay.
And that company's called Cbond, and they essentially install this window film that bonds to the pores of the glass molecularly. So
Turns non-bulletproof glass into bulletproof glass, or safety glass into bulletproof glass.
not a rated ballistic film, but for sure anti-shattering. And so we know from our deployments when you've tested that with vehicles, like you have to pull that whole panel out with a tool, right? You can't just shatter it and kind of break through it. You're going to cut yourself all up. So that's another delay. And then in addition to that, just some custom form factors for some of the rooms and spaces where the boards might not fit well. We're doing barn style doors and sliders and things like that. So some of these schools have some really good
So you
directives
guys,
of security there.
you guys go to the school, do a security assessment, and see if these will work. Because obviously, if it's, I went to one school growing up where I remember we were in trailers because they were renovating the school, and so that doesn't really work, right?
Yeah,
but
correct.
if you have, the other schools I went to mostly were concrete, cinder block, which obviously that works super well.
Correct. Yeah.
So when you show up to those schools to do that assessment, are you bringing ice cream for the kids, or are you like keeping the two businesses separate?
I'm working on that because it depends on the distance. Like dry ice can get me a certain distance, but there's rules with dry ice, and I'm working on it.
Yeah, you're
basically.
working through it.
The plan is to ship it ahead and have it there. So for sure, that's a goal. I want to bring ice cream everywhere.
Very cool. Yeah. I want to get back to the ice
I
cream.
brought some here today.
Yeah, I wanted to eat it in here, but unfortunately we're in an indoor range and they're sticklers for the rules, so we weren't allowed to sit here and maul down some ice cream. But that was my original plan, was crushing some ice cream and then shooting a drill on the clock.
Are you serious? I thought you were joking about that. Are you
No, I was
serious?
dead serious.
You can't
yeah.
eat ice cream inside the
No,
range.
and yeah, indoor ranges you can't eat ice cream because of the lead content.
Lead clouds on our ice cream.
Yeah,
and dust.
exactly. All right, so you got
sounds
the active shooter training with the ballistic chalkboards, and we got the ice cream. I'm gonna hit
Correct.
rewind, and we're gonna go back to your military career. Was ice cream a thing back then for you, or was that like how did you get started in ice cream?
So
is the
ice
question.
cream and cooking has always been a thing. That's just always was a hobby of mine growing up. I was I have two sisters. I was the one in the kitchen. My sisters were too, but I had a grandmother that immigrated from Japan with my grandfather around around Vietnam time, and she was a big cook in our house. And so I learned all of the secrets. And then I got into making ice cream, and I just became fascinated with it. It was just my favorite thing ever growing up as a kid. There's so much nostalgia with different flavors, and it just sort of became a thing. So that continued into the military. I had just a little machine that I upgraded to from the one that I had when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And on certain deployments in certain places, I had the time, the resources to make a little bit of ice cream.
So you're like in Africa or in Afghanistan, like whipping up ice cream for the boys type of thing?
Yes, but the problem is it only was like a 2-quart machine.
Yeah.
And so there's only a couple pints in a quart. So I could essentially make not enough ice cream.
Yep.
So I kind of kept it like, hey, I'm making ice cream tonight for you 4 guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Like batched it up.
yeah, and kind of go, yeah, exactly.
Did you
And
guys
kinda
have
go
like
on.
a roster on the whiteboard type of thing where it's like these guys ice cream night or?
I didn't because guys would fight about it. I had a mental roster. Right?
Yeah, that's smart. So
Yeah. Terps could always go out and get produce.
that was my question is like, how are you making the flavors on deployment? Was it like geographically aligned flavor profiles?
It was a combination between, a little bit. If it was produce from, there's a lot of apricots and apples, that kind of stuff, figs in those places.
Yeah.
But there's also chow halls everywhere that I could steal from. So.
Okay, yeah. So you, like Afghanistan, I assume, a lot of time there, and then probably other places in Africa. Did you do Iraq as well?
I did.
Yeah, making ice cream there?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was chow halls probably. And
yeah, just kind of steal it from the chow hall.
Yeah.
So, ingredients from the class 1, right?
Yep. Did you start like making weird flavors based on what was locally available, or did you keep it pretty tight and dialed to like
I kept it pretty tight and dialed. I went outside the box a couple of times with things like fig, and that matches up well with like mascarpone cheese or some kind of cheese if you could find it, or even cream cheese. So I started, getting flavoring books and a lot of different culinary books and just messing around with things over the years. And then when I got out, I actually went to a legitimate ice cream school so I could learn all of those and learn how to do formulas.
So how long was the ice cream school?
It's only about 4 weeks at Penn State.
Okay.
It's been there for about 100 years. Ben and Jerry's went there. Some of the
No shit.
founders of some other big companies went there. A lot of the companies send their executives and folks, that they hire to learn about ice cream. So it's kind of like a business school and culinary school for ice cream.
Now, are they teaching you like everything from flavor profiling to like writing a business plan?
Everything.
And it's just like a 4-week crash course and here's how you
Everything.
start an ice cream operation?
Did you go to sniper school?
I didn't, no.
Or breacher school or any of those things where you kind of start from basics, everything's on paper,
Yep.
you're doing your dope with your charts, but like in reality you have a kestrel and you've got, electronic dope everywhere you go.
Yep.
And, charts on your gun for different distances.
Yeah,
So it's kind of the same for ice cream. It's like back to algebra, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Formulating ice cream.
It's very formulaic. It's not like
it's very
just
formulaic.
shoveling shit into a pot and seeing what works.
Yeah, definitely. You got to get the right balance and percentages of, like proteins, non-fat milk solids, water, dairy, sugar for sure.
So do you play with those ratios to get that perfect, like the perfect hand load, right?
Yes.
So like long range guys nerd out, like the perfect load.
Yeah, right. How many grains do you got, bro?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, definitely that is the science of it. Is different people. There's infinite, just like coffee. There's infinite styles of roasting.
do whatever you want
and making, right? So there'll be people out there, that might not realize that they just love ice cream. They go, hey, it's kind of hard to fuck up ice cream, and it is, but it's not easy to make it perfectly the consistency and sweetness and hardness or softness and sort of flavor profile that you like to do. So that took time. And I finally got to a point where people seemed to like it. So it was exciting.
So over time with practice, you now make perfection in a bowl.
in my opinion, it's perfect for me.
Yeah.
Which I've learned that
You
if
gotta
you sell
sell it.
that,
Yeah, you
then
gotta
people
sell
sort
it.
of come to it, right? Because
Yeah.
I went through a phase of changing it towards what I thought people wanted, and
Right.
I learned pretty quickly that you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, you just run your game, right?
Yes, you do what you do, and
Yeah.
people will come to that if it's good. Yeah.
Nice. I dig it. Well, we're gonna do what we do. We got El Presidente next. I'll run it first since these are all my drills. You gotta run the shot timer for me though.
All right.
So it's gonna be 2 shots on each target. So 2-2-2, a reload, 2-2-2, and we're gonna go from the surrender position if I can get our shot timer on. Ready when you are.
Stand by.
It's like, what's the drill again? Oh no, we got a bunch out of the A's. Yeah, well, yeah, because you got to remember that A-zone's tiny, man. We got 3 out of this, 2 out of this guy. Oh, we're not supposed to step on the berm either, is what they asked. That one's all in, 2 out here. I know.
If you can't eat ice cream in a place, I don't know. I think they need to. I didn't even think. 1 second, sorry. It's been a long time since El Presidente.
All right, you ready? All right, stand by. All right, we got 1534. That was good shooting, man.
Thanks, man.
We got only 1 out here. We got 2 out here. If it breaks the line, it counts.
Nice.
And then 2 out here.
This is good training for me, man.
No,
Coming out
it's
of the
good
pockets.
shooting, and it's a 1/3 size A-zone, so it's kind of, you know, it humbles everybody. Even if
Yeah.
you're a USPSE GM, you're gonna come out here and be humbled.
And it's realistic to how I carry out of my little fanny pack.
Yeah, so we'll just roll right into it. I mean, what's with the fanny pack, man? I'm a big fan, but you're the first guy to show up on the show with a fanny pack.
It's so hard to, you know, especially with our backgrounds, to show up somewhere and go, I gotta make sure my magazine's good. I gotta press check. I gotta check my dot. You check all your stuff. But for me, my reality is, it's more comfortable for me to carry right here. It's very uncomfortable to put it in my belt. I drive around a lot. I'm delivering ice cream all over the place.